Hello! Welcome everyone! Why am I so excited today? Okay. Welcome to my March wrap up. So I gotta be honest, March was a little bit confusing to me, book reading wise, because I actually read a lot. Like just a lot. At least for me it was a lot. And there were some great books, but there were also a lot of like I don't know, just you know, books that were like, sure, why not? But like also, okay, did I care? So that's what we're gonna talk about today. So starting off strong, although, wait, I don't think I talked about Dune that much last time. So I finished Dune, I think in February, but I think I hadn't finished it when I filmed the video. I'm not 100% sure, but I just want to talk about Dune for a second. So I really enjoyed the first half of the book. And the problem is, I had watched the films before, but I was actually surprised because the book was so close to the first film. So, the first film, in my opinion, amazing adaptation. It was so good. And then in the second half, I still enjoyed it quite a lot, but to me, which is really funny, to me, the second half dragged a little bit, which is really weird because technically nothing really happens in the first part. Like, if you really think about it, not that much happens in the first part, so in the beginning of the book, and a lot more happens in the second one. So I don't know why, but I was just getting a little bit bored. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great adaptation, and I'm very excited for the next film and book, obviously. I'm probably also gonna read the next book. So yeah, that was June. Now we're actually getting into my March reads, and when I tell you we started with a banger, because in March I got back into Mistborn because I read the first book, I think at the very beginning of February, but then I couldn't get the third one, and I wanted to wait to read the second one until I have the third one because I figured that the second one is probably gonna end on a cliffhanger. So I really wanted to have the third book ready so that I can instantly get into it after the second one. But here we are, and now I have read them. So, The Well of Ascension, so the second book, I really liked it. If you don't know the Mistborn world, it's a fantasy series, and there are a lot of books because I'm pretty sure this is Mistborn Part 1, the first three books, and then there's more that I haven't read yet. But this book series takes place on a planet, I don't remember what it's called. But in this world, we have people that have magic and they can control metals. The science behind it, I don't know. I'm not gonna question it. I'm just gonna go with it. But they can like control metals and kind of use the metals. Like if you push on a metal, it's gonna fly away. But if you push on a metal that's on the floor, you're gonna fly away. Like it makes sense. And you can push and pull, so you can also pull stuff towards you or pull yourself to something. And there are different types of people. Most people can only control like a few metals, but then we have Mistborn. And Mistborn can control every metal, I think. Not really sure, but yeah, so they can control metals, and yeah, just the world was so interesting. I hadn't really seen any world building like that before, so I really enjoyed it. I just loved reading about this world and finding out more about this world. So that was really fun for me. And also, I really enjoyed the characters. I would say this is like, is it though? It's kind of a found family vibe, but also not really, because the main character is a girl and she doesn't live in a great place. A lot of abuse happening, and then there's a group of men that kind of want to overthrow the emperor. So they take her into this group and start working on a plan to overthrow the emperor. So it's not really like a heist, but it's kind of similar. And that's the overall world. So like I said, in March, I read the second book and also the third book in the series, so the finale. Lives were changed, worlds were shattered, brains were shattered. Um, I really loved it, okay? And I'm usually someone that can tell what's gonna happen at the end. But with this series, like in the beginning, I would say in the first 2 books, it was still pretty obvious, but the finale, okay? When I tell you, no one would have expected what the hell was happening there. If you expected it, please tell me how. Like, if you saw that shit coming, explain yourself. What have you seen before? Um, but yeah, so I really, really, really enjoyed this series, and I do want to get more into Sanderson's books, but I would say they are very much of a commitment. So I took a little break from his world after finishing this series. But like I said, I think now I'm ready to get into it back again, maybe. We'll see. So after this big series, I thought I'm just gonna go into something shorter, a little bit quicker to get through. So I started this novella. I think it's a novella. It's definitely not that long. And it's called This Is How You Lose the Time War, because I thought it would be casual, more chill. But then I remembered that I started this book last year when I was in a big reading slump, and I loved it so much, but I just could not bring myself to finish it. Even though it was so short, I just couldn't do it. So I don't know why I thought this was a great choice after Sanderson. So This Is How You Lose the Time War is a little bit hard to explain, I would say. I guess it's a love story about two women-ish people, because we don't even know if they're real people or what they are, but yeah. And those two are on opposite sides of a time war. So what is a time war? In this case, the two main characters are going through time, like they go back in time and stuff, and are either trying to stop events from happening or specifically make them happen so that something else happens in the future and so that they win the war. You know, that's why it's a time war, because they try to adjust and change time so that in the present, I guess, they are the winning side. Yeah. But so, yeah, these two main characters start to write each other letters in the weirdest ways. So they can't really write real letters, obviously, because they're on different sides and people would find out and then they would be deserters, you know? So they try to code them and like hide them in stuff. And it's really hard to explain. Like, it's genuinely so hard to explain if you have no idea what the book's about, if you've never heard of the book. I hope this made a little bit sense to you. Not sure about it, but I don't know. In the book itself, we just follow these two writing each other letters. So we're just reading the letters and then get a little bit of what the character is doing in the moment while reading the letters, but it's usually just them reading the letters. The writing is a little bit harder to understand, I would say. Like, it's very dramatic prose. So if you don't like that, this book is definitely not for you, because I've seen a lot of reviews where people said, I liked the idea, but I just didn't understand anything while I was reading. And I get that. I think you really have to be open to not understand anything that's happening and just be there for the gorgeous, beautiful writing and the beautiful love story. And it worked for me. I loved it. I had so much fun with this book, but I can understand that it's not for everyone. Okay, so next one is a funny one. Because after this, like I said, after Sanderson, I wanted a break from dramatic big worlds, okay? Because before that, I read Dune, which is also like a really big dramatic world, a lot of world building, and I just wanted like a chill story, and I don't know why I chose this novella afterwards. After I read This Is How You Lose the Time War, I just wanted a cute, sweet fantasy romance story, okay? So I started Divine Rivals because I thought it would be a sweet, fun romance story. Like, literally, if you look at the newer book covers, I would think it's a sweet, cute love romance story. If you look at the older ones, I get it. You wouldn't think that, but I also didn't expect what was coming, even though I had seen both book covers at the beginning. I'm talking so much about book covers, oh my god. So about the book, okay. Like I said, I went into it thinking it was a cute fantasy romance, like a romantasy. Boy, was I in for a surprise. So what I knew about this book series was that there's two characters and they are rivals and they both work for a magazine or something, and through some magical thing they can write each other letters. That's all I knew. Like, I knew there would be typewriters and rivals and somehow fantasy. So that's all I knew, okay? Now, I'm just gonna tell you right away, this is not a spoiler, but just because I didn't expect it, okay? I'm just gonna tell you, it feels more like a World War II book or something. So it feels like it could take place in that time while also being in a fantasy world. But like the fantasy, like you're not gonna get cute fairies or even cool fae. Like you're not gonna get any of that. It's definitely more a war book. Like it reads like those typical war romance books, you know, but in a fantasy world. Which kind of confused me at first sometimes because I would just usually forget that we are in a fantasy world because it just felt so real. And then they would talk about dragons or something flying over them, and I would be like, wait, what? Sorry. Oh, right. Right. We're in fantasy. So I would just be forgetting the whole time. But overall, it was a really, really good book, I think. The romance was very nice. I really enjoyed the world once I got into it. I still got whiplash every time like anything magical got mentioned, but I really enjoyed it. But I did rate it lower because I just couldn't enjoy it as much as I think I would have if I had known what I was getting into. Because, like I said, I expected something completely different. I expected a cutesy, funsy, love fantasy romance book. And this is really not that. We have a lot of trauma there, okay? So I was just not ready. Like I said, I wanted something sweet and nice and fun, and I wanted out of the trauma. I wanted away from the trauma. So I couldn't really enjoy it, I think, the way I would have if I had known. And, you know, if I had gone into it with a different mindset. But overall, I really did enjoy it. So, on to the next book. And for this one, I finally got what I wanted with Divine Rivals. I read Sorcery of Thorns, and I really enjoyed this book. Can I tell you what the book is about? Um, like I'm saying, I really liked it, and I still don't remember anything. This is insane. So there's this girl, and I'm pretty sure she works in a magical library or something. Yeah, okay. So she works in a magical library, but I think the head of the library then gets murdered, and she wants to know what the fuck's going on. But unluckily for her, she's the first one at the murder scene, and so everyone thinks she did it, which is not great. Oh, and we also have sorcerers in this world, and this girl has met a sorcerer before, but we don't really like them in this world. And so she's kind of like, I don't want to like stay away, please. But it turns out that maybe she has to work together with him to find out what is happening and to protect herself from the people that are doing what the hell they are doing. Yeah. We also have a demon called Silas, and I love him. It was very like, if you've seen, this is so niche, if you've seen Black Butler, the anime, um, that's Silas. Like Sebastian is Silas. So, if you've seen that, if you like him, but like a little bit more of a fun, cutesy book, but still with that vibe, then this is for you. Oh, I would also say it's definitely like it reads a lot younger, I would say. So it felt a little bit more middle grade to me, writing wise. But then things would happen that were not middle grade. But like the writing style is definitely feels more for a younger audience. So if you don't like that, this book is not for you. Okay, so after this cute, funsy romance fantasy book, the 18th of March came around. And with it, the release we all knew, we've all been waiting for it. Sunrise on the Reaping. And when I tell you, I have been so excited since I heard that this book was coming out, because I am that bitch that has been wanting a Haymitch story for like since I read the books. So I definitely was really excited to finally get Haymitch's story, because I think he's just such an interesting character, and it would have just been so great to finally get to see how he became the way that he is and who he is. And I don't know, I was just so excited and so intrigued, which is why I feel so sad saying this, okay? But I didn't love the book. I mean, it was still a good book. So let's start there. So, if you don't know anything about Hunger Games, where have you been the last years, first of all? But second of all, it's fine. Maybe you didn't have the dystopian phase when you were 14. It's okay. But so in the Hunger Games universe, I guess, we have different districts that people live in. And then we also have the capital. And the capital are the rich people. And the districts basically work for them, I guess. And like many years ago, there was a war where the districts tried to stand up against the capital, but they lost. And to remind the districts that the capital is stronger than them and better than them and the greatest of all time, I guess, they made the Hunger Games. So it's an event that happens once a year. And for this event, 2 children of every district get randomly chosen. And then all these children from the districts are being sent into an arena and have to fight to the death. And the last one to survive survived. So they are the winner of the Hunger Games, and for some reason that's great. It's just to remind the people that the capital has all the power and that they shouldn't try another uprising. And yeah, in this book we follow Haymitch, which was a side character in the original trilogy. He was very much a drunk that had kind of given up on life, and everyone was just wondering, how did this happen to him? How did he become this way? And we did learn a little bit something, so we already knew from the original books that I don't even remember what we remember. We remembered, at least what I remembered going into this book was that he won the games, but for some reason he did something the capital didn't like. And when he came home, his family and his girlfriend, everyone was murdered. And that's all I knew. And that was what I was excited about, which is why I was kind of disappointed in the book. So I'm just gonna talk about why I didn't like it without any spoilers for a second. So, like I said, I was very intrigued in what happened to Haymitch and how he became the person he became. And I just was very excited to see this book. But I think in the end, this book was just the exact same plot, like literally the exact same plot as the very first Hunger Games. Or the second one as well, I guess. Because the first and second book are kind of the same. Like, we hang out at home, meet the characters and all of that, and then we go into the arena, and then there's a winner, and then that's kind of the end of the book. And I was just a little bit sad about that because I was very excited to get more character development. And I feel like we didn't really get that as much. And it's very hard to talk about it without spoiling. So now, here is my warning. I'm gonna talk about the spoilers now. I'm just gonna talk about anything that I want about the book. So if you haven't read it yet, read it, because I do think it was a good book. It just wasn't what I wanted. It was still a good book, but I'm just gonna talk about it now, okay? So here's your warning. Leave, please. um but then maybe come back. I don't know. Okay, so like I said before, I was just really excited to see all the character development that turned Hamish into the person he is. And I was very excited at the beginning of the book because he's a 16-year-old boy that's just like living his life, and he's actually pretty content and happy with his life because he has a cute girlfriend and he's very happy with her. He has a brother that he loves very much, and he's fine with life. And I was just very intrigued to see that go down the drain, you know? But then we end up not really getting that much character development from him, I would say at all. But maybe like in the final two chapters, in the very, very last two chapters, that's where we like speed run. We genuinely speed run through all the trauma that happened to him and through his character development. And that kind of annoyed me because that was what I had been waiting for. And you're just gonna like jump through it in two chapters. I don't know. I didn't like that at all because for the whole rest of the book, I feel like Hamish was a very bland character. Like he didn't seem how do I say this? He didn't seem like he had a goal. He didn't seem like he had like a will to live genuinely, even though he has his girlfriend. He was like, yeah, I know I'm not gonna survive it, which is also a way to drive a character. So like it could have worked, but it just felt so bland to me because it just felt like he was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna die. Like if I die, I die. I don't give a shit. I'm basically gone. And that's just all he was thinking, and I was just bored by that. And also I just, like I said, I wanted to know him, and I feel like after this book I still don't know him any better in any way, genuinely. So I don't know. I was just here for the character development, and like I said, we jumped through that in the very last two chapters. And like that could have been a short story. You could have just given me that. But I also would have said you could have written a whole book about these two chapters and just made it longer, bigger, more explanatory. So, yeah, I was just very annoyed because I did not get at all what I wanted from this book. And like I said before, it was just the same plot as the first book, like the exact same plot. And we've had this before. I didn't need another Hunger Games. His Hunger Games ended up not being that interesting either. So I was just kind of waiting for like the moment throughout the whole book. And then like I said, we flew through it in the very last two chapters. And I've said that like 5 times now, but I'm just very angry about it. And I feel kind of bad because I think, like I said, Heyman is such an interesting character. And I feel like he deserved his story being told in more than two chapters. Like his trauma needs to be unpacked, okay? It needed to be unpacked. And we did not do that. Like literally, like I said, he wins the games, comes home, finds out everyone's dead, and then we just get like a jump through of him drinking and all of that, and then we get a jump forward to after the original books, and it's just happening all way too fast, and you just cannot follow anymore, in my opinion. Also, at the very end, someone please explain to me why basically the last two chapters were also only songs, because I mean, I liked some songs sprinkled in there, but at the end I felt like, I mean, I have studied literature, okay? But I feel like a literature degree is not why I'm gonna read this book. Of course, it's to criticize and analyze, but I don't know, I was not here to analyze all these fucking songs at the very end. I feel like she really wrote that so she can show that she's a good writer, which she is. Like I said, the book was written very well and it was still a good book. It just wasn't anything new. And that also made me sad because I feel like, I don't know if it's true, because that's just a thing on the internet, okay? But I have seen on the internet people say that the author said that she's only gonna write if she actually has something to write about, if she feels like there's more to tell. And I just didn't feel like she was telling me anything more. Like, this just didn't feel like she had anything to say. It genuinely just felt like the same over again. I don't know, it just made me sad. Okay, I've talked about this book. I feel like this is gonna be half the video. Um, but I think it deserves to be because Hamish deserves better. So next I started this random book that just was available in my library and I didn't have anything else. So I started it. I hadn't even heard about this book before. I really just clicked on it because it was available in my library. And it's called The Sunbearers Trials. And it's really funny because, like I said, I picked this up very much on a whim, had no idea what it was about, and it ended up being Hunger Games for children. So in this book, like I said, at some point I really wrote down, is this middle grade Hunger Games? So the plot is very much the same. We have a group of children, and it's not every year, it's every 10 years. They have this ceremony where some children get chosen to go through some trials, but because it's for middle grade, they don't fight to the death, but rather they get points for the trials, and the person with the most points at the end becomes the Sunbearer, like the title. And the person that loses is gonna be sacrificed to the gods, which is still very traumatizing, and I don't know why it's for children. Yeah, that's the plot, and our main character is from like a very much lower class group, because in this world, like I said, if you read Hunger Games, in this world, usually only the careers get chosen, get picked. So like they have some children that like really study for this, like work for this, so they want to become the chosen ones. And usually they are the ones that get chosen to do this. But for some reason, this year, our main character, that is from more of a lower class group, gets chosen, along with another boy from the lower class group that gets chosen. So naturally, they're stressed because they have not trained for anything, and everyone else has been training for this their entire lives, which is probably still like only 12 years. I don't know how old they are. Between 12 and 18, I think. It's the same for the Hunger Games, I think. And so we go onto these trials. And yeah, we'll see what else happens. But I actually really like this book. What I also wrote down is I think it was very inclusive. So I feel like this would have been something that I would have liked when I was like 12. I would also, yeah, I would compare it to like Percy Jackson maybe. So I would say it's a Hunger Games plot with a Percy Jackson vibe. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of cute. I have requested the second book in my library. We'll see when I get it. Okay, so for the next books, we're in a series again, but I actually read the first book 2 years ago, maybe. I think so. Okay, wow. So I read the first book in the series 2 years ago, and it was called Thrown in the Dark, I think. And I really enjoyed this book, so I have no idea why I didn't keep reading. So we have two main characters, a guy and a girl, and this guy, he is evil. His father is a demon. So naturally he's just like, well, I guess I'm evil. I've been born like that. I've been taught like that. I'm just an evil person, okay? I'm an evil guy. And his father has been imprisoned since he was a child, I think. So he's now on the quest to break his father out of prison. And then we have the girl, and she's just a random, cute, normal girl who's just chilling, hanging out. But somehow, sadly, she gets intertwined into this quest, and so they have to go together. And it's just a fun time. Like, this is, again, when I said I wanted a cute, fun romance fantasy book, this is what I wanted. Because some romanticies are still dramatic as hell. I just wanted a cute, fun, kinda high stakes, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels more chill fantasy book. So this was just really fun because it's genuinely like, I don't know if it's a great comparison, but if you've seen Tangled, I feel like that's similar to the dynamic that we have here, because we have this cute, funsy, quirky, girly, blonde woman And then we have this broody, darker, dramatic guy. Like, imagine if Flynn Rider looked like Snape. Because that's what I imagine. Like, his personality is very similar to Flynn Rider, but he looks more like Snape. Like, he just wears black and is dramatic. And like I said, he's just like evil. And it's just so funny because the girl's always like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not evil. What? And he's like, no, look at me. I have like a demon pet and I'm so dangerous. And she's like, sure, babes, whatever you say. So yeah, those two books, just a fun time. I really liked it. I gotta be honest, the third book had spice in it, and I did not enjoy that. I just didn't enjoy the way she wrote it. It was very weird. It could have been left out to me. The third book overall was very horny. Didn't need that. So after I finished this book series, I just started what was free in my library again, what just got available. And for me, that was The Reappearance of Rachel Price. And when I tell you, I have been waiting for this book for months. Months and months, honestly, because it came out like pretty much, I think, a year ago. Like, I think it came out in April last year, and I just didn't want to buy it because I thought, sure, it's probably gonna be good, but I genuinely don't need that book on my bookshelf. But I want to read it because I like Holly Jackson. So yeah, I read this book. And I gotta be honest, I really enjoyed it. So this is a murder mystery. If you've read any other Holly Jackson books, like the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, you know the vibe. So it's just like a murder mystery. But the twist for this book is actually, we're not trying to find out who the murderer is. Because the main character is a girl, and her mother disappeared when she was like 2 years old. But the twist is she was with the mother when she disappeared. So they were in the car and she was found alone in the car. So everyone's like, "Girl, do you know who did it? Who got her?" And she's like, "Guys, I was 2 years old. What do you mean?" And now there's this group of people and they want to make a documentary about this case because it's been like she has been gone for 16 years at this point. So the main character is 18 and they want to make a documentary about it. Surprisingly, though, right when they want to do that documentary, Rachel Price, which is the mother's name, she reappears. And everyone is very confused. And she tells us that she's been in a basement for 15 years. So our main character realizes that there might be some mistakes in what she's been saying and some things that just don't really add up. And was she really in a basement for all this time? So that's what she's trying to find out. So we're technically not trying to find out who died and who did the killing, but we're actually just trying to find out where has our mom been for the last 16 years. Did she abandon us or was she actually taken by someone? I thought it was a very nice mystery because I feel like for A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, it was very predictable. I mean, this one, I would say this one was also predictable, but it was still just like the way to get there was just so interesting that you just couldn't help but keep reading, even if it was kind of obvious how it's gonna end. Although at the very, very end, they kind of lost me a little bit. Like, not that I didn't get it, but I was just like, okay, this is too much, calm down. Yeah, overall, I had a great time reading it. I really liked it. So, for the last book, it was really a last book actually. The last thing I just read was a novella, and it was called Springtime, a Ghost Story or something. And I genuinely, like, after the murder mystery, I again just wanted something nice and chill. And I found this short story, I guess. And all I knew was it was about spring. And I gotta be honest, the weather was really, really nice the last few days. But right when I read the story, it was really cloudy and stormy and not a great vibe. So I was kind of happy to read a book about spring again. So this short story is also very much random, I would say. So I've mostly seen kind of negative reviews about it, but I would say you just shouldn't go into the story expecting a big story because it's a short story. So you can't really flesh out any characters or go very deep into it. but I really enjoyed it. The story is about a woman and her dog, and we just follow her through her life, I guess. And I feel like it really wasn't about the plot for this one. This is just like a no thoughts, just vibes. You know what I mean? Kind of story. So we're just here, we're just reading about this woman living in Sydney, going through life and just like talking about the landscape and what's going on. And I really, really, really enjoyed it, okay? So I was just having a great time because, like I said, I was sitting inside and the weather was terrible and it was just so nice to read about a beautiful sunny spring day or like a nice winter day, and that was what I was there for. And it gave me exactly what I wanted. Just like beautifully written, mundane days happening. And it also it's called Springtime, a ghost story, which is also kind of misleading, and I think why people didn't love it because a lot of reviews I saw talked about it wasn't really a big ghost story. And that's true, genuinely. Just think of the book called Springtime, okay? The ghost story is really not a big plot. It's just there. It's just like a mention here and there. But like I said, it's really not a big plot. It's just about people living their lives and going through life and just vibes. Like I said, no plot, just vibes. So yeah, that was technically the last book I read in March, but I did start Book of Night by Holly Black, and I would have finished it yesterday because yesterday was the last day of March. I would have finished it yesterday if I didn't need to binge watch Severance. Because I've been watching the second season right now, and I'm actually in the last episode right now. I have like 40 minutes left. I am gonna finish it after this right now, so I really want to leave. No, that's not true. But yeah, so I started Book of Night. I didn't even start it. I'm like 70% through. I could have easily finished it yesterday, but I just wanted to watch Severance. So I also wanted to mention that. And also, I saw a lot of negative reviews about this book that said that it dragged a lot in the beginning and that's why they didn't like it, which is so interesting. I always find it so interesting how different a viewing or reading experience can be for someone, because I personally loved the beginning. I had so much fun. I thought like the world building was so interesting, and then towards the middle, that's where I got personally bored because I just didn't care about the characters that were the focus of the plot at that point. So I don't know, but I'm very intrigued to finish it. Like I said, I do really like it so far, even though it has been dragging a little bit in the middle, which is why I decided to watch Severance. Um, but yeah, so those were all the books that I read this month. Let me know what you thought about them, if you have read some of them, if you haven't read some of them, if you want to read some of them. Um, and yeah, have a nice day. Bye.